Recovery from domestic violence abuse can be a complex process for some people, and part of this process involves getting past social stigmas and learning it is okay to break the code of silence.
Women are often embarrassed to tell about it because if you think about it, I used to be a secretary and we used to sit in the lunchroom and make fun of everybody that wasn't doing everything we were doing. And one of the things that we would is a stereotypical kind of comment that a lot of women make is, I would never stay for it. So if you're in a group, say you're part of the secretarial pool or you're part of a lunch group, and everybody at the table is saying, I can't believe that woman's staying for that, I would never stay for it. And you already know that in order to disclose that that's what you're living with in your own home, you have to overcome those feelings from other people. You're not going to tell anybody anything. If what society has done is created this perception that battered women are weak, that they're stupid, that they must like it, that they must be asking for it, or it wouldn't be happening to them, why would anybody speak up and say, guess what, I'm stupid, I must be weak? You just don't. You keep it very silent. The other thing is that he creates a scenario of silence because he is telling her that if she tells anybody, he will kill her. So she learns really fast that the secret is between the two of them, or other people could get hurt, or she could get hurt further by letting people know.
Leaving an abusive relationship can be a long process for some people, and the very fact that it can take a long time is one of the issues that women sometimes feel needless shame about.
They're not like whacked because they don't get out right away. It takes sometimes a long time to be able to leave. They may actually be coming out of prison and returning to the man who hurt them because it's still a process of learning how to get out of that relationship. And people around you that love you don't necessarily see the whole process. They see every single time she comes forward and says, I've had enough, or every single time he's done something to her, and friends and family tend to lose patience with that faster than anybody else. So, I mean, we always want to find somebody that loves her, that has a good support system for her and that can help her, but I think a professional or an advocate, somebody like that would probably be in a better position to help her identify those people.
Helping a victim of domestic violence believe in themselves again is a crucial step in the recovery process. And domestic violence support centers help the abused learn how to build self-esteem and not be vulnerable to getting involved in another dependent relationship.
The most important thing for victims of domestic violence to know is that they aren't alone and that they're not crazy, and that there is a way to learn how to be whole in yourself and not get tangled up in another domestic violence relationship. The other thing that we know about domestic violence perpetrators are that they will look for somebody who may be more predisposed to being controlled than other people. So it doesn't mean that somebody who that the victim is responsible for that. It means that he's looking for vulnerability. So one of the things we want to do is work with women to help them develop their self-esteem, develop a sense that they don't need to depend on another human being in order to find good things about their lives, and that can help them reduce the risk of being involved in another violent relationship.
Remember, dealing with law enforcement, the courts, and state agencies is what domestic violence support groups are there to help you with.
More than anything else, that's what we are as advocates and educators. It means that I can't even tell you on a given day how many women our staff call on their behalf advocating for different things, getting charges dropped because they've been arrested in a mutual arrest kind of situation, yelling and screaming at the Department of Children and Families about failure to protect. I've seen tons of those cases dropped because somebody that understood what was going on went in on her behalf and argued for her or with her. And it helps the women not feel so isolated, because the number one thing is they think they're all alone. So when I said earlier, what do you want them to know? I want them to know that when they come out, they're not alone. There are hundreds and hundreds of people in the state whose entire job is to help them figure out how to navigate out of that relationship.
Finally, moving on with your life means letting go of the past. For many people, this is the true meaning of forgiveness. To let go of where you've been and to allow yourself to become a different person with a different future.
When you mention the word forgiveness, that survivors will say, I could never forgive that person. Batterers say, I could never forgive my parents for the way I was raised. I could never forgive. Well, forgiveness, the big perception is that when you forgive somebody, that you're saying what they did was okay. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is acknowledging that you are no longer going to stay in that place in your life. It's not saying that what they did was right. It's saying that you are moving on. And you need to do that if you were abused as a child and you're a batterer. You need to do that if you have been a victim and you are now a survivor of domestic violence, because it really holds you back from being the person that you need to be and the person that you are capable of being.
Now let's conclude this program and this series on domestic violence with a test on some common attitudes that people have about domestic violence. We'll read each attitude, then give a response. You might want to pause the program after each statement and discuss your response before you hear what our experts have to say.
I'm not a bad guy. I just lose my temper sometimes. I'm under a lot of stress.
When you say that you're hot-headed or that you break or you just have a bad temper, the important part is, who do you take that out on? Who do you take it on your boss when your boss makes you mad or you don't like something he said, or do you wait till you get home and take it out on the most important person in your life, is your intimate partner?
I didn't know what I was doing. I was just drunk.
Sometimes you'll hear people say, well, I was drunk, I didn't know what I was doing. Well, that's a choice you make. That's a choice you make to put that substance into your body that alters your thinking process. And the first thing to go when you're drinking is your judgment. So sometimes people use the drinking as an excuse, but it's not an excuse. It's something that you choose to do, and you should be accountable for whatever you do.
He just can't control himself. When things are different, he'll stop.
Women want to believe that he isn't hurting them for any reason other than something he can't control. Why would anybody want to know that the person that you love is actually doing it out of willful choice, that they're hurting you because they can hurt you? So what women are going to do is they're going to lop onto any excuse at all that makes it not be his fault. Substance abuse is another one. If he'd only stopped drinking, then I wouldn't be getting hurt anymore. If only his boss hadn't fired him. If only what happens is, when you work with a battered woman over a period of time, she will tell you 25 if onlys that she had used during that marriage to try to justify why he was doing what he was doing to her. The one thing that we know for sure is it's not justifiable. You can't make sense out of why he's doing it. And women they feel it. What they do is they feel him and they want it to be okay. So they'll accept just about any justification for why he's doing what he's doing.
She hit me, why can't I hit her?
A lot of times we'll hear batterers say, well, she hit me, so why couldn't I hit her? Remember, you're in charge of yourself. You know that to hit another person is against the law. Okay, take care of your business. Just because someone else does something to you doesn't make it right for you to respond in the same way. If we're trying to stop violence, then you just stop. You don't continue in with this cycle and with this continued pattern. There's going to be times in your life when other people, maybe your intimate partner, is going to do something that's inappropriate. But you don't have to respond with violence, and you don't have to one-up them. You don't have to hit them back. You can choose to take the high road, which is to not respond with violence.
Women who get battered are just weak and stupid.
Battered women are weak. I'd like to get rid of that one too, or that they're stupid, or that they have they have a lack of self-esteem. Some of the most incredible women I've ever met in my life are either living with violence in their homes, or they have left a relationship where there was violence. Domestic violence is about another person getting control of you. That's not about your self-esteem. That's about conditioning, cultural conditioning, family conditioning, believing that it's your responsibility to play that role in that relationship, and before you know it, you're too scared to stop it. So it's really about another person making a concentrated effort to put you into a position of a loss of power, and it doesn't make you stupid if you fall into that kind of pattern.
I only hit her when she deserves it.
No one ever deserves to be hit. No one ever deserves to be hurt. And when people say that she deserved it, that she did something that made me react like this, then you need to own up to the reality of the fact that, no. We can walk away. We can leave a situation. We don't have to retaliate with harm. Do no harm.
Well, if she would just leave, there wouldn't be a problem.
The number one is that if women would just leave, that people have this really interesting issue around the fact that if women would just get out of the relationships, there wouldn't be any violence, and it's so much more complicated than that. We know that 75% of all domestic violence-related homicides occur when the woman is trying to leave or when she has left. So number one is I'd like people to get over that whole idea that just leaving is the answer.
I love my wife. I just can't control my anger. I can't help it.
You choose every day to control what you do. You choose to control who you take your anger out on. You choose to decide how long you're going to be mad. So I don't buy the fact that people cannot control their anger.
How could you be foolish enough to get involved with an abusive person?
I've yet to meet a woman who is capable of not being controlled at some level. When these guys are making a concentrated effort to gain control over these women, and it happens very slowly and over a period of time. And it's not like there's a big sign on his head that says, watch out, because today I'm telling you I don't like that skirt, and 3 days from now I'm going to hit you. There's nothing like that. It's so slow and so gradual that what the women often say is, I don't even know when I lost myself. I remember what I was like when I was dating him, and I don't know when that woman died. It's such a gradual process.
I can't tell anyone about hitting my wife. People will think badly of me.
I think you can't really concern yourself with what other people are going to think when you're at this pivotal point in your life. This is not about anybody else but you, and you need to fix the problem. So that's another thing that men have is an ego. They worry a lot about what their perception is going to be. Their perception of you could be much worse if you committed another crime and maybe took a life.
You have to overcome it. You know, you can't succeed, get ahead in life without overcoming a problem, because if you don't face it, you're going to stay where you're at. You know, if you let people's opinions about you rule you, you won't succeed in life.